Hey, everybody. Well, welcome back to another episode of Nikki Nights where the camera has already fallen. Oh my gosh, of course it has. I'm still blonder than ever. Yep. Still blonde, still doing this movie. So I am still blonde. And yeah, I think it's just getting as the days go on. It's just I'm finding new shades of blonde in there. It's trippy. It's fun though. It's fun. I'm having a good time. I hope you all had a lovely holiday. I hope you all had a great New Year's as well. Um, and I hope we all go into 2021, with good positive attitudes, ready for great adventures, ready for the unknown. Speaking of the unknown, oh my gosh, my guests today. I love to have people who have all of my guests have such passion for what they do. And today's guest is no different. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about passion. She has such a passion for what she does. She's a paranormal investigator. And if you know me, you know that I have dabbled in paranormal investigating myself, and I love it. And I've had such a trip doing it, and I've had a few experiences of the unknown, as I was talking about before. But I get to talk to Katrina Weidman today. Yes, many of you have seen her over the years on A&Es. I remember that show. Oh my gosh, I used to watch that show on A&E back in the day when she was at Penn State. And yeah, and now she is on shows on the Travel Channel and Discovery Channel, and she is just all over the place, just doing incredible things, being a boss and investigating some of the scariest. I mean, I don't know how she does it. I did a couple like Eastern State and, a couple of little places here or there, investigations, but I don't know how she does it. She's fearless. So we're going to talk to fearless Katrina Weidman right now. Let's talk to her.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
Good. I like in the blonde hair.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's not it wasn't a choice. It was for a movie. So
Oh, okay. I love it though. I think it's really pretty.
oh, you're sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm finding ways to make it.
No, I hear you. I put a bunch of highlights in my hair. And like, when COVID started to lighten up a little bit, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's like safe. And then it wasn't safe. And so like, I'm like, I don't, I'm like something, I don't know, I guess this works.
It looks great. I mean, I've always had dark hair like you, and
Yeah.
this is the lightest I've ever been, and it's like sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, whoa, that is. I did not expect to see that. I know every day it's going to be the same thing, but still, I just can't believe it's that blonde.
Yeah.
But I was just talking about back in the day, one of my favorite shows in high school was Paranormal State.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I remember that was my jam. You guys were everything. So I was just reading up about you, and you said that you had such a passion for the supernatural because you grew up in haunted environments.
Yeah. When I was a kid, so I was born and raised outside Philadelphia. And so when I was a kid, the house that we lived in, from my parents had owned it before I was born, and we moved right before I turned 6 years old. So during that time period, that house was very, very active. And what's funny is my parents didn't really experience anything there. It was mainly me and my sister. And my sister, she's 4 years older than me, so she had more experiences. She would see a man walking down the hallway, and like multiple times she saw this. And my mom was like, "Oh, it's probably just your father." And my dad, he's like a big version of Mario from Mario Brothers. He's like a big Italian guy. And my sister's like, so it's kind of like you can't really mistake him for someone else if you see him. And
Yes.
what my sister described was very, very different from what my dad looked like. So my first memory was like something being really off that was more concrete than just feeling scared to be alone upstairs or scared to be alone in my room, anything like that. My first like experience like that was I was sitting at the bottom of the stairs, and because I was so afraid to be upstairs by myself, I would follow my sister around with me everywhere, or with her, I would follow her. And she would obviously get annoyed because that's annoying. And so there was one night where she was coming down the stairs from the second floor, and she peeked through the banister, because when you did that, you could see directly into my bedroom. And she saw me sitting on the bed, and I turned and looked at her. And she's like, okay, I guess she's just going to leave me alone. And when she finished getting to the bottom of the stairs, there I was playing with a puzzle. So the real me was at the bottom of the stairs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this gets into like doppelganger territory and stuff like that, which I remember learning about that for the first time after I was watching one of your shows.
Oh, yeah.
I had never known what a doppelganger was. For anybody, I mean, quickly, can you just explain it for anybody who doesn't know?
Yeah, sure. So a doppelganger is a copy of somebody. So it's when somebody sees, for example, if you were sitting in your living room like you are now, but somebody said, well, I just saw you outside your building or outside your house. And you're like, you can't be in two places at the same time, as far as we know. So that is essentially a doppelganger. Some people associate it with negative, evil hauntings. Other people don't associate it with that. So kind of a toss-up as to what it is and why it is.
Did you feel that the environments that you grew up in, were they more positive energy spirits? Was it lighter energy, or was it pretty heavy stuff?
I don't think anything was bad that I grew up with, honestly. It was just like a lot of like the typical haunting house stuff. Like, you know, the lights would turn off, or a door would close and you didn't know why, or you would hear footsteps. And in my mom's house that we moved to next, she had, and it's so funny, but because it just recently stopped, she hasn't had it for a long time, but for like a period of like maybe 10 or 15 years, she had what we call the refrigerator ghost. And everybody has heard this. I don't know why or what, but you would hear the back door open, and you could not mistake it because she puts wind chimes on it. So you'd hear the back door open, and then you'd hear somebody walk into the kitchen. You would hear them open the refrigerator, close the refrigerator. Then you would hear footsteps walk into the dining room, and then it would stop. And you would be like, who is here? Right? So you would go and check. Nobody's in the driveway. The door is locked. Nobody else is there. So there have been multiple people that have heard that. And interestingly enough, my mom just got a new refrigerator like last year, and it hasn't done it since.
That's wild.
Isn't that weird?
That's
so
wild.
Weird. Yeah.
It's so weird. It's, you know, it was funny. Growing up for me, the one person in my life who got me into the supernatural was my uncle. He, you know, he was always into like sci-fi and aliens and, you know, other realms, and he would always be like, you should watch it. And I'd be like, I'm too scared. I was a big chicken. I was the biggest chicken on 2 feet. And then as I started to get older, he was the one who actually told me, he was like, you should watch this show on A&E. And then there you go. And I mean, it's something. He actually at one point in time worked at a graveyard and lived there while working there, which actually is like right down the street from our old house. And growing up, he used to joke and he used to say, oh, that there was a ghost in the attic. And like, none of us ever knew if like, should we believe, like Uncle Steve was the uncle that was totally like solid and like sane. So everybody believed Uncle Steve. So it was like, we were like, if Uncle Mike was the one saying that there was a ghost, we might be like, nah. But if when Uncle Steve said that, he was like, yeah, there's a ghost, we all very much believed him that there was a ghost in our attic. So, you know, who knows? The house has been sold now, but
it'd be interesting. I wonder if anybody who's living there now still has, you know, activity like that.
You know, it's interesting. I wonder that because my uncle actually passed in the home.
Oh, okay.
And so, and it was kind of in a tragic way. It was suicide. So it's like, I never really know. It's like, I often wonder myself, I'm like, listen, if you're there, because
Yeah, yeah.
so I can't help but wonder, but it's so interesting I was in an interview the other day, and they said to me, Nikki, what are your thoughts on aliens? Do you think like we're alone? And I said, well, I think it'd be a little naive to think that we're the only species. It's just
Yeah.
humans and that's it. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think so the paranormal in general, so aliens, hauntings, anything that kind of falls under that umbrella term, I think that it deserves exploration for this reason. I think so many people all around the world from all walks of life for thousands of years have had these strange experiences, and I mean, we only really started, I guess, talking about them more recently, but well, I guess in a way that it's not so taboo, right? But I think when that many people have these experiences, then there's got to be something to it. And we have to understand that humans are, we're really good at wanting to try to explain things. So when we're looking historically, we know for sure when humans didn't have an explanation for something, they would blame the supernatural. And it wasn't always the case that that's what it was, right?
Right.
So in an ancient time, if they had a storm or a bad harvest or a good harvest, they might blame or give thanks to their gods or their god. Sorry, my dog is going crazy.
No,
They
he's
might,
just agreeing.
yeah, he's like, yeah, totally. But they might give thanks to their gods or goddesses. And, what I find interesting is that what they were experiencing was real. They just had the wrong, reason for it.
Right.
So I look at the paranormal very much the same way. I know that these experiences exist. What the definition or the reason behind those things are, I think we might have wrong, So I tell everybody, just like as a reminder, when you watch the shows, when you watch the work that I can speak for myself, that when you watch the work that I do, it's all speculation. We're going off of the best information we have now. And a lot of that is based on religious texts and cultural folklore. And, you have, like, when somebody has an experience, they automatically put it through those filters.
Right.
So you also have to be really good at breaking that down and understanding, well, where are you coming from in your life? What have been your experiences? So we can start, breaking it down and seeing what's really there. But I've certainly met my fair share of people who have had experiences where it's completely explainable, either environmental or psychological or physiological, so that exists too.
Yeah, debunking or just finding, the natural, reason for it. But
Yeah.
then there are just those few things. I mean, I've watched a few of your shows, and I have to say, I've seen some badass women in my lifetime, but you take the cake. I mean, 72-hour lockdowns in like abandoned prisons and insane asylums. I mean, you've gone to some of the most wild places. I mean,
Yeah.
around the world, you've gone to some incredible places. Where's one of the most I I'd say like maybe the change where it changed you for the better, or kind of like added to this entire experience for your career?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a great question because it's when I started out in the field, on Paranormal State and with that group that I was in college, I think I kind of entered the field the way a lot of people think that the paranormal is, or is specifically a haunting, is life after death. And it's somebody who has some sort of message or, mission that they still have to finish. And the more I was in it, the more I studied, the more I met people and I interviewed them about their experiences. I'm on the far end of the spectrum from that at this point. And I think there's been a lot of different cases and experiences that kind of led me to where I am now. But to answer your question, I think one that always sticks out to me is Trans-Allegheny. Have you been there?
No, but I have heard about, yes, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I have
Yeah.
heard about it. I have seen multiple shows, go there.
Yeah, it's wild because our experiences there. When I went for, I've been a couple times. When I went for paranormal lockdown, we captured what we call the creeper on camera. And what's weird about that night investigation is we were up in that hallway for hours, and of course, television makes it look like we're there for 10 minutes
Right.
because you only have 44 minutes to show your show. But the time that we spent up there, it was a lot of subjective experiences. There was nothing concrete that we were getting. It was a lot of feelings. It was a lot of, I heard footsteps. It was a lot of, I have anxiety. I saw a shadow. Nothing was showing up on our cameras. Nothing was showing up on our recorders, And then it switched over to our camera operator, and he was our director of photography, and a producer, Rob. He was like, guys, I'm seeing something through my camera. And he captured this figure that kind of shapeshifts like twice into different things. And what's weird about it is it was only his camera that picked it up. So Nick and I, I worked with Nick Groff on that show. We each had our own handheld cameras, which are kind of like your run-of-the-mill handheld cameras. Rob was using a higher quality camera. And he also worked with the company to change the sensors purely for a cinematic reason, because he wanted the show to look different from any of the other shows that were on television. And his camera always was the one that picked things up. And I would say I think we did maybe like 40 investigations together. I can count off the top of my head at least like 5 different figures or anomalies that he captured through his camera when other cameras we were using didn't capture anything.
Wow.
So so that really, to me, that makes me think, because one of the criticisms our field gets a lot is, well, if it's real, how come you don't have it on camera? And I'm like, well, that's like a really limited way of viewing it, because we actually don't even know what these things are.
Yeah.
So we don't know how to detect them at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. You guys truly don't know what you're walking into. I mean, that feeling when you walk through those doors or the gates or wherever it is that you're going, I mean, I personally investigated Eastern State Penitentiary. And I remember when I walked through, I was with my buddy, Chad Lindbergh. And when we walked through, I was holding his hand. I was like, do you feel that? I was like, oh, it just feels like 1,000 pounds of lead on your chest. It's like, it's incredible just the impressions that these buildings and these places have,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some of them feel like they're almost alive, like they have their own pulse.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And, and then that becomes the whole residual haunting thing
Yeah.
comes into play and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, so for you, where was one of your favorite places? Just speaking of travel, because I love to travel, and I know my job has given me the chance to go some pretty wild places that I never thought I would get to. But where was one of the places that you just like absolutely was like, oh, I can't believe I get to go here and like be
Yeah.
in this city for work?
I think, definitely when we were working in the UK, I think, because we got to like live in castles for 3 days. And,
Oh,
one of my favorite moments, we were investigating this school in Wales. And I always forget the name. I always mess up the name. It's like Hitchingbrook House, I think. But it's this really old manor house that they turned into a school, and they have this really old piano there, and I play piano. And so when we were on a break from, we were just taking some downtime, I got to play the piano in the dark in this, like, I don't know, 600-year-old house, and it was just like this really magical moment. I'm like, this is so random, but amazing,
yeah, it's those moments that you're like, I have to take it in. I have to absorb it. Because I found myself like plowing through, and then there were certain moments when I was at the Vatican, and I was in the Vatican Gardens, and I said to myself, this is beauty you'll never see anywhere else. Just like stop and look and focus. And yeah, it's just like those moments that just like take you somewhere. So
Yeah. And I totally, that it's actually not in Wales. It's that is somewhere, can't remember where that one is, but Wales is another one, because I slept in it was an old abbey, and they had like these old ruins of their chapel that was kind of like away from the main house. And I slept in there one night, and I remember going to bed, and I was like looking up at the ruins. I'm like in the middle of them, and I'm like, I am sleeping in like the middle of this 1,000-year-old like structure where people used to come and worship. And this is my life. I'm like, huh.
yeah. I feel like I have a lot of those moments. Like, what's going on? Is this real life? I feel like you might have those moments. Like, is this my life? Yeah, this is my life. Okay, yeah. It's I get that. It's where you're like, this is too surreal, but it's real. It's happening, and it's so cool. I mean, and I have to ask you, just purely opinion based.
Yeah.
My mother has been trying to get me to watch like The Exorcist since the beginning of time. I won't do it. I'm too scared. I'm too nervous. Now, in your opinion, what is your favorite horror movie?
Oh, I have many. I go through, my husband hates it. I go through what I call the rotation. So like from September through like early November, we cannot watch anything but horror movies.
Yes.
and he had this like moment the other day where he's just like, because in November, then we start the holiday rotation.
Right.
And he's like, I just realized that for like a quarter of the year, every year of my life, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be stuck in a rotation.
Welcome to marriage, my friend. Yes, you are good. This is a rotation of life forever. Enjoy it. You are blessed to have this beautiful woman by your side. Oh my gosh, so enjoy it all. Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. It's true. I was thinking the other day, speaking of marriage, I was just sitting here thinking about one of my favorite shows, Sex and the City, where Carrie was talking about her single people behavior, how people, when they're single, they have their certain behaviors that they do that they don't let their spouse see. And I was sitting here, I was like, what is my single behavior? And I was like, oh gosh, it's totally that, like, I always have to have probably like a snack next to the bed, and like, the remote. I mean, so what was your single person behavior before the rotation started?
You know what's so funny? I think I don't know that I hide anything from him. Like, I don't know that I've changed. I think in the beginning for sure, but we've been together almost 7 years. And I'm just like, this is me, So
I love that. And that's amazing. And is he into the paranormal as well?
So the funny thing is, he is super scared of this stuff. So I have a lot of fun. I bring home haunted objects. And I'm like, baby, I just brought home like this like 400-year-old haunted doll. And he's just like, please stop. So I have a lot of fun. I like to pop out of closets and scare him. And
oh my God. That's what my brother used to do that to me. I'm a jumper. I scare so easily, and you could just boo and I jump. And my brother would do that in our old house. I would just walk out of the bathroom and he would just stand there. And every time I knew he would be there, but I would still scream and yell. Oh gosh, yeah. You and my brother would get on just fine, scaring your husband like that. You think he'd ever go on a investigation with you?
Yeah, so he's been on a couple, as far as like, sometimes I'll do like big group investigations where people can come and investigate with us. So he's been on some of those, and he finds it really interesting, but I think he's in the camp of, he's like, it's cool, I've had my experiences, but it can stay there. I don't need to like dabble in it,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an interesting community of people. I mean, who would you say is somebody that you know, maybe look up to as a mentor, or somebody that you've worked with super closely that has made an impression on you? Because I know, you know, I have my mentors for my business. I can only imagine that, you know, in the paranormal world, somebody, you know, made an impression.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think it really comes down to, honestly, every single person I've ever worked with. I take away something from all of them. So, you know, I think on the 3 shows that I've worked on the longest, you know, with Paranormal State, I think it was just about being really objective and helping people. That was always our thing. And that it's not, I mean, we all have our own, you know, desires to try to figure out what the paranormal is, but at the end of the day, it's about the other person. So I definitely took that away. And we also came from like a very, I mean, because we were part of a university, we were a club. So we had teacher advisors, and they made sure, like, you know, do your homework here, like learn the history, be objective. Your personal belief systems, those are okay to have, but drop them at the door, you know? And I think in the first couple episodes that we filmed for Paranormal State, we actually had, she was a teacher who was I can't remember what science she practiced, but she was a scientist, and she would come with us, and just to make sure that we were like really keeping those objective views. So I wholeheartedly, you know, appreciate how I started in the field, because I think it really gave me a firm foundation.
Yeah, it's those people that kind of, you know, lead the way, and they lead you to, you know, like you said, a firm foundation and a path that where, you know, that's uniquely yours. I feel like you and I are both on journeys that are so unique. Like, so unique. We're really forging our own paths here. But I think, you know, I'm just going back to, but you have the singing as well and the music in you as well. I hate to say it. I was like, I'd hate to be a ghost in my house, because all you would hear is Good Morning Baltimore. Like, you would probably, you'd be like, if I'm not dead already, like, please somebody kill me. Like, it's just 24/7. So
Yeah, no, same. When I was in college, actually, my my neighbor, was she downstairs or up? No, I was downstairs, so she was above me. She used to tell me, because my bathroom in college had like the most amazing acoustics of any bathroom I've ever had in my life. And so, like, you know, I'd go in the shower and I belt some show tunes.
oh
And
yeah.
she told me, she's like, sometimes I'll just sit in my bathroom and listen to you.
I love that. That's so sweet. I mean, I'll tell
Luckily, we
you.
were friends, so.
I'll tell you one time, you know, whenever I have a live performance or whatever, I get up and I warm up. And sometimes, you know, we have to be up in the shower at 4 a.m. So I'm up warming up at like 5 a.m. And one time, all of a sudden, I was in this hotel here in LA, and the concierge calls my room and goes, Miss Blonsky, hi, it's so-and-so concierge. I'm like, hi. He's like, is everything okay? And I was like, yes, why? He's like, well, we got a phone call from down the hall. Somebody was reporting like somebody being maybe abused. Is everything? I'm like, no. I'm like, no,
Oh
that's me
no.
warming up my voice. I was like, no, that's because I'm doing my you know,
Yeah, yeah.
my ridiculous sounds. And so apparently me warming up sounds like people getting, you know, injured.
Murdered. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jeez. That's always a tough one when you're on the road and like trying, because I'll do like a vocal warm up every day. Just, and
mm,
especially like just even working in television, like you have to take care of your cords. And so like I'll do it every day, and I'll like sometimes I'll just grab the pillow and put it in front of my face and try to do it. But
yeah, I am that person that I always tell people when they stay with me in hotels, I'm like, I apologize in advance. You love me now at 10
yeah.
p.m. You're going to hate me at 5 a.m. Absolutely. But yeah, you gotta do it. I have an elixir. Do you do an elixir?
You know what? One of my vocal coaches, a couple years ago gave me a recipe for when I tried it, and I felt like it didn't really do anything for me. But what do you do?
Okay, so I've had this elixir for a very long time, and I've started to add to it, and I think I've gotten it just right. So I'm going to share it with you. I
Okay.
do warm water, so hot water, and then I do just a drop of olive oil,
Mm.
and then equal parts lemon juice, honey, and whiskey, and
Oh,
mix it up really, 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 really good, and just sip on it hot, and yeah, and
wow. And
it's
do you feel like it really like warms?
yeah, I felt for a while like I was like, okay, I think it's working, it's working. And then when I noticed when I added the olive oil, it just a little extra coat for the throat.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to try that.
So who knows? So I don't
Yeah.
know. Weird things
Yeah.
happening in my kitchen. But I'm like anything to get the notes out when you're singing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
When you were the lead singer of a band, what kind of a band was it? What's your style of music?
Yeah, so that band was alternative rock. So yes, yeah. So that's one of my favorites. When I write my own stuff, it's like because in the band I wrote the lyrics and melody. So, the top line. And but if I'm like jamming on my piano, it's normally sad girl music. So like, very 90s-esque.
Oh my
Um
gosh, yeah, sure. Me too. I
yeah.
literally the other day I was listening to Nora Jones.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like I was all in my feels with Don't Know Why and Come Away With Me and oh gosh, yeah.
She's so great though. She's a wonderful, wonderful musician.
Yes, absolutely. Who are some of your favorites growing up? People that inspired you?
Oh man. Well, you know what's so funny? I always feel like, especially with music too, it's the same thing. Like even maybe music you don't connect to as much or artists that you don't like as much, they still inspire me because you can always take away something from someone, I think.
I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
but the ones that I really, really love, I mean, Tori Amos, hands down, I think my biggest influence, especially because I was a piano player, you know,
Mhm.
and I just love her. My second favorite album is Live Through This by Hole. I love that album so, so much. Ann Wilson, of course, Pat Benatar,
Yeah.
and my favorite album is Counting Crows, August and Everything After. So yeah, so it's kind
I
of like
love
it's
that.
very eclectic. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I have a very eclectic. I'm all over the boards too, and I feel like that's just one of the greatest things about like music is there's so many different genres out there. You can dabble in everything and find what you like, and there's always new stuff coming out. So,
Yeah. Oh, especially. Yeah.
speaking of new stuff coming out, what's going on with you? Where can we
Yeah.
find you and keep up with you?
Yeah, so definitely on social media. So Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, Katrina Weidman. And my last name is WeID Man. It's the easiest way to remember it because nobody ever remembers it. So,
We ID man. Well, I'm just saying, if you ever come to Club Lonsky, we
yeah,
ID man.
yeah, exactly. But it's like embarrassing because like right in America, we always learn I before E, except after C. And so when I look at my name, it never looks right to me. It just doesn't look right. So I'm like, oh, I always have to check. And I think I was like in my mid 20s when I was like, oh, we ID, man. Oh,
Yeah.
like that took a long time to figure out. But I am on social. And then the show I do now with Jack Osbourne, Portals to Hell, is on Travel Channel. And
I'm
we will.
obsessed with that show.
Oh,
You have
good. Thank
no
you.
idea. My family and I love Jack so much.
Oh,
So,
yeah. He's so sweet. He's
yeah.
funny too. He has such a dark, twisted sense of humor, which is probably why he and I get along really, really well. But um, yeah, so that new episodes of that will be coming out soon. We don't have an exact air date yet, but they are filmed. We were able to finish our season during COVID. So, so they are coming.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. I know I'm filming something during COVID, and it's a feat. So congratulations to
Yeah.
you guys for finishing that and putting it out. And I can't wait to see it because I love it. Oh, you and Jack are a dream team, and you're
Oh,
just
thanks,
amazing. And
Nikki.
I personally just want to thank you for inspiring me, because seeing you in high school doing your thing and like out there and just taking charge, it really made an impression on me. So I thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice to say. Thank you. That means a lot to me, actually. And I remember, I have to tell you, when we were, because we didn't realize, I don't, we were all like 20 and, and like doing this. And so we had no idea what was happening, really.
Yeah.
And I remember when they started telling us celebrities who were watching Paranormal State, you were one of them. And at that time, your movie was like huge. And so we were all like, oh my gosh, Nikki. And like, I was fangirling super hard because theater, so.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I've always been a fan, always will be a fan of you forever. You got
thank
that.
you so much. Well, this
Stay
was fun.
well,
Yes, you too. Thank you for having me.
always, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Nikki. Take care.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh my gosh, she's the sweetest. I loved chatting with her. I really, really did, because you guys, I've watched her since I've been in high school, and I've loved her on Paranormal State, but she always took charge, and she went her own path. And even on the show, if somebody had a difference of opinion, like, she always heard everybody's opinion, and she's an incredible listener, and she's very, very kind and a very empathetic, caring human being. And I could see that in high school, and now it was just super cool to talk to Katrina now, and hear about her journey this many years later, and see where she is. She's married now. She's she's watching movies. Oh my gosh, I know, that was funny to hear about the rotation, right? Well, we all do it with holiday movies and all that fun stuff. So again, Happy New Year to you guys. I'm so happy to be back with NikkiNights after the new year. This feels so great. And Katrina, we ID man, I adore you. So thank you so much. I adore you all. I'm sending you all so much light and love. Stay safe. Mask up, people. Everybody, please mask up and look after yourselves and look after one another. I love y'all, and I'm signing off. Bye.